Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Hospitable Hosts podcast. So, today's episode, we invite Sean Wilkinson of Hostshare to share his story about the company's creation, its mission, and how hospitable hosts can leverage last minute vacancies across the platform, enabling them to travel at virtually no cost. This innovative travel SaaS platform revolutionizes how short term rental hosts can explore the world. Sean, welcome. Great to have you here.
What's up, Miles? Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Cool. I think the last time we saw each other in person was maybe Nashville,
I think
short-term
so. Yeah,
rental wealth.
yeah.
Yeah,
Run into you a couple times now, so always
yeah.
always look forward to it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, great to have you on here. As you know, we chatted just before recording. Usually we're kind of talking with integration partners on this platform. Hostshare is a little different. Maybe you can explain a bit more about what Hostshare is, how the community works. Kind of just give us the elevator pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what Hostshare is for anybody that hasn't heard about it, it's a short-term rental. It's exclusively for short-term rental owners and hosts, and it allows them to travel for free for 3 weeks per year, utilizing last-minute vacancy across everybody's properties that you're inevitably going to have vacancy. And so the goal is that we're just utilizing those last-minute days that in windows that go unbooked, and in order to allow hosts everywhere to travel for free.
Awesome. And then maybe you can kind of give us a bit of the backstory of like you and like how you've kind of ended up getting into Hostshare. What led you into the short-term rental industry and why this particular company?
Man, I mean, so I'm from a small town, Central Washington. I had kind of an entrepreneurial gene from early on. So I bought my first. I ended up getting into real estate early on. So I was never really in tech or in SaaS, product from like
Yeah.
an education perspective. So I ended up going to community college, got my first property when I was 17, and just kind of started like realizing, okay, like there's some interesting things in business, seeing that cash flow happen from one property, and then it kind of led into what I ended up doing for the next 7-8 years, which was growing a real estate portfolio and a management company. And then from there, I ended up buying my first home when I think I was maybe 19 or 20. I think I was 20 at the time, and it was the first one that I was going to live in, and I was getting married at that point. And so when we got married, we moved into this house, and there was a basement to the property. And anyways, what what I realized is we lived in kind of a small town that had a lot of um, uh, travel opportunities and like wine
Mm.
events and stuff like that. So we ended up renovating the whole basement and making it into a livable space that we could move into on weekends and rent out our upstairs, and
Nice.
and that's how we paid our mortgage at that point in time. And so that was kind of my first experience with a short term rental. And then, going forward from there, we ended up building our portfolio a bit more, and to a point where, we were able to get some freedom from it because we were able to hire out a lot of our key roles. And then we moved back to our hometown. And at that point, what was a blessing of a situation to find ourselves in was like, there was some freedom that had come from it. And I think at that point we had about 4 short-term rentals that we just had for the utility of them more than actually the business of them. It was like we have
Yeah.
these we have these multifamily properties, in this other town, and it's a way that we can go and travel or go see the properties and have a place to stay. Really, that was the why I kind of had them, and so it worked as a little business, but it was kind of just on the back burner. Wasn't really much of a focus at that time. And then so basically what ended up happening, realizing that we had all this extra time when we came back to our hometown, um, that's kind of where the creative juices started flowing a little bit. And I was around my brother, who lives here, and we both have short-term rentals. And so we ended up kind of coming to the realization that short-term rentals sit empty. I think globally there's about a 60% vacancy factor, right? So like that means like every night, like depending on if there's 7 million or 10 million short-term rentals, it's like, 4 to 6 million of these sit empty every night. And so that was when we were like, okay, there's something here. There's a problem that needs to be solved. And like for us, we're like, as a short-term rental host, we're like, man, if I could just trade my vacant nights, those last minute vacant nights with other hosts and be able to do the same. That was when we were like, this would be pretty, this would be a pretty cool concept. And so that's when we started, kind of diving into what this might look like, and came up with what we have today. So.
Yeah, nice. So, I mean, that's, to boil it down to its simplest terms, it's house swapping on a very large scale, right? For those vacant nights. Is that fair to say?
To a degree, yeah. We say there's some key differences from maybe traditional house swap platforms out there compared to what we are. First off, we're only short-term rentals, right? So everybody that's on the platform owns and hosts a short-term rental. It's only last minute, so you're going within the next 5 days to these properties, but you're surely able to go. So it's not like you're having to swap with somebody, and then the other thing is you're not giving up revenue in future months or weeks, right? So it's those nights that are really perishable, that are most likely going to go unbooked, really in that short window of time. And then the biggest thing that's really cool is that you sign up, right? Like people that sign up, they can go and start traveling tonight, and they can travel up to 21 nights without having to give anything, because we're going off, law of averages. So because there's so much vacancy across, all short-term rentals, if you're one of the minority that's booked 90% of the time, then because we track your calendar, and you're sunk up with our calendar, if you're blocked out, then you're not available on Hostshare. So there's no like credit, like I need to give this to get this. It's just if you're available those last minute nights.
Sweet, nice. Yeah, I like that. And I do, the last minute piece is very nice as well, right? Because, ultimately hosts want to be able to book as much of their nights paid, right? But it's a nice incentive. Like if it's going to sit empty anyway, then like another host might as well be able to benefit from it, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I'm sure that hosts love the fact that it's other hosts as well, right? Because hosts know the experience of like bad guests, and I'm sure that the best kind of guests are hosts themselves, because they've been on the tail end of the negative experiences, right? So they know to look after someone's property.
That's definitely the culture we're trying to instill in our people, is that these are all hosts doing the same thing, and like you're getting this perk because of all these other hosts. And so we even have what's called a share pledge when you sign up, where you're just like you're saying like, I'm going to treat every home like it's my own, kind of like just kind of rules, code of conduct beyond among hosts, because sometimes you do get those where they're almost sometimes the more critical host, or the more critical guest in some cases. And so we're trying to make sure that that's not the culture that we've got within the community. So
nice. Yeah, let's maybe kind of chat about that community a bit more then. Like how are you supporting the community? How are you growing the community? And silly question, is the community mostly US focused? Kind of three questions in one there for you.
Yeah. So we're really quickly trying to, we've got actually waiting lists in over like, I think 40 countries right now.
Wow.
We're only live currently within the United States. So we have properties that I've already signed up in many countries, but they know they're not able to go live quite yet. So, but the main thing that happens is you've got to have that, I guess you call it like an atomic network of people, right? Because this is like, it's last minute. You're going within 5 nights. You're not going to fly across the ocean to go to most of these places last minute. So what we want to do is roll out probably country by country and create the wait list until it's to a point where, you can launch in those countries. But what's cool is a lot of these people are already in our community and following it. And so, and they're on board, when we launch and wherever they're at. So, in terms of the community of people, it's such a neat community of, of
Yeah.
hosts that are on here. I mean, because like it's a win-win for everybody on the platform. I mean, they're able to like, I think our average night or our average stay so far has saved, I think it's like $750 per stay that's happened on the platform is the average savings. And I think the average stay is about like 2.4 nights. So like, over 2.5 nights, you're saving, it's pretty significant. And so a lot of these people are like, man, this is just kind of crazy. And once they use it, they're like, excited for another host share, to happen at their property. And so it's just it's really, a pleasure to be, to have the community of people we do. And then, as for like supporting them, I mean, one thing that's really neat is that we're a travel platform, but we're not catering to guests necessarily. Like every other platform is catering to the guest. And so we have the, I guess, ability to only be catering to hosts, really. So it's like, because everyone on here is a host. So that's one kind of neat thing is we're really host centric focused. And I think that's one of the things a lot of people get frustrated with the big OTAs about is just like, they always will take the traveler's side. And so that's kind of the bit of the community we're building. And then as for supporting them, I mean, we're all obsessed with the company, we're all obsessed with everything that's happening on it. So when there's anything, it's like everybody has their finger on the pulse of what's going on and wants to resolve anything, as quickly as possible. So
nice. I love that. And so it's kind of talking about resolving things. Obviously, very positive conversation so far. But what are the challenges kind of that you see with property sharing? So from your perspective, in terms of like, what challenges does Hostshare face? But then also, what potentially comes up for hosts and what do they need to think about before they start sharing their property with other hosts?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely inevitably going to be problems with, I mean, it's amazing. The first, like, I think we had almost every problem you could have within the first like 5 stays, happened. It's like, another host like broke someone's hot tub or something like that. And then like they didn't like get out when the repair guy came. It was just like it was just weird to have this happen in the first like few stays. And then, so it was just like some funky stuff that, happens that they're like, that you wouldn't expect. But what's funny is that I swear in everything that I've like, even every Airbnb I've started, it was always the first like 2 stays that I had the most problems with. And then it was like smooth sailing from there. And that's kind of what we've experienced since. But, I think the biggest thing that we're going to have just growing pains and is everybody sees, last minute as a different, they've got a different perspective on what's last minute. They think that 5 nights is too short, 5 nights is too long, and so you just have to kind of set these things that maybe not everybody will agree on. And, but, I think that we've settled on that length of time and it's working out pretty good so far. I'm trying to think, what other challenges we've been running into. Of course, earlier on, it was the atomic effect or network effect of, just needing a lot of properties and finally for at least the United States, it feels pretty well saturated to where if you're on the platform and, you're going somewhere, you can find places. So that's pretty cool. But it's interesting to see how people are using it too, right? Like people are using Hostshare differently than maybe you'd expect. Like rather than using it for trips that they were planning on already going on, they're using it as like additional travel, right? So
bonus vacation.
Yeah, it's bonus vacation. Yeah. So, people are looking at their family, and they're like, hey, we're not going anywhere or we're not doing anything this weekend. Let's find the coolest host share within 2 to 3 hour radius and just, and pick up and go. And so, so that's in terms of like a vision and like what's really cool to look at in the future is just like the reality for a lot of these hosts and their, enriching their lives for their families, being able to go out 10 weekends a year, for virtually, very little cost, because there is a cleaning fee associated with every stay, right? So,
Awesome.
yeah. So it's free except for a cleaning fee, because you don't want the host to lose money, but and so that's really fun to think about, how much different like memories and getaways, these hosts are now able to do using Hostshare.
Yeah, nice. So what is the company vision for the future? 5-10 years time, what are you hoping to achieve?
I think like big picture, like we think that this is a really really something that at least 10% of hosts worldwide should
Mm.
I think it caters to at least 10% right now, and I think that will grow. That percentage would grow over time as people get more comfortable with the sharing economy. With
Yeah.
I think maybe especially during hard times, this is a really cool program to be a part of when maybe your vacancy factor is higher than years before. Now it's like, how do I get any extra value out of my property? This is one way. You can get five to like $25,000 worth of travel, depending on where you're staying. And so I think 10% is really our vision right now, which is
Yeah.
which is pretty big, but I think that's our target market for at this point. And then our mission, I would say, is like to enrich hosts' lives by utilizing waste, because it's just the waste. It's taking lemons and making lemonade. It's taking vacant nights and trading them for vacation nights.
Cool. And then, so if we have any hospitable hosts listening that want to sign up and check out Hostshare, what do they do? How do they get started?
Super simple. So you just go hostshare.co. You're going to go up to the right corner, click start traveling. and then from there, you just put in your information. You put in your Airbnb link. Once you've created the account, you'll see this create listing, and you'll click that. You just drag and drop your Airbnb link. It does a web scrape on your listing. So then it creates your listing right then and there. And then you just got to go through an ID verification and sync your calendar, and then literally you can travel immediately. So you unlock your 21 nights right away.
Amazing. That's cool. And then I guess a question for those countries where you aren't active yet: is the process similar to kind of get on the waiting list, or is there a different approach there?
It is the exact same. It's just you'll go through all that. You'll create your listing. It just won't allow you to go live in those countries yet.
Sweet. Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Just for the non-US listeners out there.
Yeah. Good point.
Sweet. Cool.
Soon, though, stay with us, because it'll be very soon.
Good. I like that. Yeah, I mean, Hostshare is growing rapidly. In comparison to when we chatted in Nashville, I think back then, were you even launched? I'm not 100% certain, but I mean, now I'm really seeing that map. Yeah, okay, I've really seen that map kind of glow up with different destinations now, so that's great to see.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Are you on the platform, or like have you seen the map? And
I've seen the map. I've signed up, even though I don't have an STL property myself, just to have you nosy around.
Good.
Just want to see how you guys are doing. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'd encourage anybody to do it, and just so you can kind of see where you can go, and just nosy around, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. It was just kind of interesting to see the platform with my own eyes. It looks very well designed as well, I must say. So before we wrap up, I just want to kind of ask you one question that we often ask our podcast interviewees, and that's basically, if you were to kind of go back to the beginning of your time in this short-term rental industry, either as a host or as a software provider, what would be the one thing that your current self would tell your past self if you had to go and do it all again? What would be kind of one of the learnings?
Yeah, one of the things that I think was really apparent just from the first few events we went to was just how it's probably just that everybody coming from a hospitality background, but it was such an easy approachable audience of people that's actually really small. Like it's not a huge world. It's fairly small, and but everybody is like super engaged and encouraging, and and just a good group of people, really. And so anybody looking to get into this space, it's like I don't know of many other spaces that are as like, I guess, open arms. And like right now, it seems like especially people are trying to better their properties and their management and just to get that edge. And so if you have something that you want to better people's businesses with, I don't know of a better industry that is like more open arms. So I think that was one of the biggest learning, because we've been in business for a year. And that was like, it's one of those things you're always going to be a little, or just wonder like, how's this going to be perceived? And that was one of the biggest things that I think I realized was just, it's a great community of people.
It's funny. So I've not actually asked that question in quite a few episodes, but I feel like we could just pre-record the answer to it, because everyone says pretty much the same thing.
Seriously?
And it always comes back to, honestly, like go back and listen to some of our older episodes and you'll hear everyone's basically saying it's the community.
Oh, that's
it's
funny.
very welcoming.
Well, sorry for the
everyone's
the unoriginal thought then.
No, not at all. I mean, it's just fantastic to hear, and it just goes to show that it's truly the case, right? Everyone has that same perspective, that it is a caring community. Everyone's very open and happy to share ideas with each other. And it's just a great sense of community, like you say.
It is, yeah, no, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Sean. I hope you've enjoyed the interview today and enjoyed the episode.
Well, appreciate it, Miles. And yeah, anybody that is interested, just feel free to reach out with any questions, or and look forward to having anybody on. We're excited to grow with everybody. So
sweet. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to our listeners for listening in. Stay tuned. We'll have another episode in a couple of weeks.